So you're a coach now, and you have to help someone create that mindset. And not everyone has that analytical nature like you do. So what are
Sure.
some of the ways that you coach that type of mentality into someone who
Sure.
wouldn't have that to begin with?
Well, I think that's an interesting question because I don't think everyone can be analytical. I don't think that it's a one size fit all kind of mindset. And I think that it's dependent on the type of person, athlete, competitor that each kid is. Some kids, yeah, you can get pretty analytical with them and be like, hey, you're struggling from this angle with this type of shot, and we can kind of work on this on our own and blah, blah, blah. Other kids, that's too much thinking, right?
Mm.
So as a coach, I don't try to give them everything that I have done because I think that for some kids it would, they'd be like, I don't really know or care what you're talking about. But more like finding what it is with each kid,
Mm.
and how we can, at the end of the day, it's about development and it's about growth and it's about competitiveness. And if you can link your personal competitiveness, um, to your growth method and your process of progress, right? Like if you can combine those two things, that's kind of the thing that I try to do in a different way with each type of person. So it's different, it really is. Like I said, there are some kids who are really analytical, some kids who aren't. And, for the kids who are, I could do very similar things that I used to do. And it'll come into the office for film after a game, and we'll take a look at each shot, let's say shooting, for example, and we take a look at each shot, see where it was, see why it didn't go in, see if it was a good shot, was it a bad shot? And then we'd be like, okay, so now you know what to practice for these next 2 days, at least to kind of turn the page from that last game. And then we can continue to work on what we think we're going to see in the next game and what the kind of shots are that we're going to develop there. And that's all right with the people who are a little bit more analytical. Some kids, it's about decision making, right? So it's not about the shot; it's about the decision to shoot. And you have to work on that decision making piece with them. For some kids, their decision making is really good, and then their shooting isn't great. So now you have to work on the shooting with them. So I don't think that there's a cookie cutter way to say it, and I think that there's a lot of things that go into that. And I think the biggest piece, though, that gives you the groundwork as a coach to figure that out is creating context with the kids and developing relationships with the kids. And, you wouldn't know that. You wouldn't know what type of way to kind of tweak your coaching to them until you have somewhat of a relationship with them. You do have conversations with them constantly, see how they think, see what they do think about. And for me, this is only my second year at Lehigh. When I started at Notre Dame, I was only there for a year. Started at Colgate, was only there for a year. Now I'm in a place where I think that I'm going to be for a little while. So, having a year and a half under my belt with these guys, I do have a better idea of what their mindset is into these things. And now you can kind of know how to tweak and coach and where to push, where not to push, what not to push. All those things are all, a case by case basis, where, in the past, if I only had a year with the kids, it's hard to develop a context with them and then also be able to specifically coach each kid the right way. Right. You can obviously do your best, and you have to do, as a coach, do everything you can to build the relationship with them. Something that, the two biggest things that I do is eat and golf with our guys. So like eating, we go and grab a coffee, we grab dinner, we grab, lunch, I allocate a certain amount of money, per year. And I understand that this amount of money is going to go to, like going and doing things with my players. So eating, is one thing, obviously, that, you could obviously dig and ask questions and learn about them a little bit more outside of the lacrosse field. And then the other one is golf, that I never was very big into. It was never a sport I played in high school or anything. And really was just circumstantial with the COVID and the quarantine is kind of the only thing everybody did. And it was something that I certainly felt I started to really like. So I would just, over the fall, I went out and golfed with, at all of our offensive guys at least once, and that was just it's a it's a 4 hour thing where you're just with them, so whether you like it or not, you're building some sort of context, some sort of a relationship. You're starting to understand the way they think, and understand the way they compete, understand the way that they analyze their shots. In golf, it's the same. It's all very similar and all very um, very comparable, or consistent across, right? So yeah, so that's a really long-winded way of saying it's different for each kid, and it's all about you building enough of a relationship and understanding the way, and honestly just knowing them, and understanding how to tweak, who to think a little bit more analytically with, who not to think more analytically with, but with the same end goal, being consistent, which is just a that you have to prepare competitively. That's the bottom line. And if you can prepare yourself competitively, against yourself and against other people, you can, that's kind of the end goal of the message that has to be, at least for guys' development and their progress. That's obviously a really important piece.